Hello, and welcome to the Geek Nostalgia Podcast. I'm your host, Gene. The tequila is iced down. Today I'm joined by...
Hey, yo, what's going on, everyone? I'm Dave.
All right, and today we're taking you back to 1999, Boondock Saints. Now, I want to set the table because in doing research for this, there's a lot of, key geek stuff that happened that year, and just a lot of fun stuff in general that happened. Watch this, Dave. Sixth Sense came out that year. That dumpster fire, the Blair Witch Project, came out that year.
That's not a dumpster fire.
Napster got started.
That's a dumpster fire.
Ricky Martin was living La Vida Loca. The Phantom Menace came out, which some people hate that. The Matrix. Family Guy. Tony Soprano was doing Tony Soprano things. It was kind of a happening year, you know?
A lot of good stuff there.
Yeah. This is a movie that you, Dave, you're the one who chose this. And we kind of have a special connection to it. So I guess my first question to you is, that fact aside, because we watched a lot of movies back in the day, we played a lot of video games back in the day. What about this? Pulled you in and said, this needs to be our inaugural flick.
Well, this movie is one that brought our whole group of friends together to talk about. We didn't really do that with the other movies. It was kind of, a couple of people would go see this. A couple of guys would go see that. This is one that we all just kind of knew and talked about and say a specific scene, and we'd know what you're talking about and laugh about it, whatever.
I gotta say, I've always been attracted to movies, films, TV show, whatever, where the characters are kind of larger than life. Like the characters in this movie, they could have existed in a graphic novel, a comic book. They are so exaggerated. But the casting on this movie, the actors they brought in to play the characters, just made it so fun. I mean, there's main characters, right? There's your brothers, but there's so many side and supporting characters. It's so well-rounded. You almost couldn't fuck this movie up with the cast you had. I think you did some research on the cast a little more than I did. Right before we got into this, I was looking at IMDb. Our main guy, who most of the world knows as Daryl, his actual actor name is...
Norman Reedus,
1999. He doesn't do Walking Dead for 10 years. Not saying he didn't do other stuff, because we had talked about, he did Blade, he did some other stuff. But this is young Norman Reedus, and he's fantastic, even back then. So, I mean, it shouldn't be surprised that he had so much success with the Walking Dead franchise, but he was badass already.
Well, I believe it was Blade 2, Gene.
Blade 2, sorry, yes. Excellent trilogy. We will cover that at some point because, I'm still trying to talk my daughter into watching the damn movies.
He started with the Deadpool Wolverine movie, then she got her introduction there.
Yes, although I gotta say I wasn't a fan of the short sword. I liked his katana type thing.
I mean, only one person can have the katanas in that movie.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Probably why.
I want to throw some names at you. Of course, we had Norman Reedus. All right. Sean Patrick Flannery, that was our other lead. But he was
also in Powder.
He was also in Powder. We had Willem Dafoe, who is fucking magical in everything he does. Billy Connolly, Dave Della Rocco. What was the porn guy's name?
Ron Jeremy.
Okay, he didn't have many lines, but the ones he had, I liked him. I liked him.
I thought it was terrible.
Really?
He's an old porn star that did funny and terrible porn, I think. But consider this. He's still a legend.
If you're going to dig him up for film, you're not going to give him any high volume lines. You're not going to put him on a mic and expect him to be super eloquent. So for what he was called to do, I mean, he had resting bitch face every time you see him, like he was sucking on a lime or two. He just had a bad disposition in every scene he was in. I don't know. I enjoyed him. He made a hell of a grizzly in there. So what are your thoughts on the cast?
It was a pretty good cast. Everybody worked well together. Accents as they were, sometimes it was hit or miss for the Irish accents.
I hadn't even thought about that honestly till right now, how authentic those accents might or might not have been. I've been around a lot of Irish people in general, so maybe that's why I hadn't really thought of it. But you gotta admit though, two Irish brothers from a rough part of town in Boston, I don't know, they, in a weird way, them leaning into the Irish brothers from the wrong side of the tracks, they kind of made the city a character in and of itself, right? Because even though they were out there doing legally questionable things, right? Even the police were kind of they're not so bad. They're doing the things we want to do that we can't. I don't know. It was interesting. It was interesting because the city felt like a character, like Russian mobsters. Come on, that's fantastic. The one thing I did want to point out with the cast is Willem Dafoe. I was on IMDb right before we started recording. 157 actor credits. Dave, you astutely pointed out that man has done so much stuff that he's probably been in a bunch of stuff that he's been so well absorbed into the character you didn't even know he was there. Fucking greatness. But what else you got, Dave? I can go on forever.
Yeah, well, I have some facts about the movie that's interesting. So the director, Troy Duffy, he did a movie called Porn Star Legend of Ron Jeremy.
Did he really?
So he worked with him before. Dead in 5 Heartbeats. He did Boondock Saints 2. He did a Pauly Shore movie called Guest House.
I don't think I watched that one.
It's pretty good. I think it was only on Amazon or Amazon Prime, I think.
I have to look it up.
And apparently he's writing a TV show, Boondock Origins, that is set to come out. And in March of this year, Boondock Saints 3 was confirmed.
Okay.
So you got that going. He's also in a rock band. The name of the band before the Boondock Saints came out was The Brood. Once this movie came out, he changed the name to the Boondock Saints.
Good for him. For the record, I've used that name for like a decade now in fantasy football.
The Boondock Saints?
Yeah. It's either Boondock Saints or Reservoir Dogs. That's my go-to fantasy football for a long, long time.
It was only, so it's 110 minutes long, 1999. It was only a $6 million budget. It was filmed in 33 days. They filmed in parts of Boston and in Toronto, Canada.
Okay.
Believe it or not, when it came out, when it was released, it only ran in 5 theaters.
Oh, so it wasn't even all that widely distributed.
No, not at all. $31,000, just under, is what it made in the box office.
Wow. I would like to point out that Willem Dafoe was Green Goblin 3 years later in Spider-Man. So I know some movies, they come out, they don't do well commercially, but then they take up kind of this cult following. I think the Boondock Saints is kind of right there. I feel like this immediately hit once it got out of theaters and people were able to go get it and bring it home and watch it. Because
do you know why that is?
No.
Blockbuster.
Okay, expand.
Blockbuster, when they got it in the store, they made it kind of word of mouth and spread it around.
And what was their incentive for pushing a grassroots campaign for this film?
I just think they enjoyed it and they wanted to push it.
So this is one of those classic, like the Blockbuster employees would sit around and talk about it and get excited about it, so they'd tell their customers about it.
Yeah, because other than that, there wasn't much advertising about the movie at all. But after Blockbuster did their thing, it ended up making $50 million in video sales.
Holy crap. So it found some green. Yes. I would like to point out, Dave, like I am probably among the many who don't miss Blockbuster. They don't miss, and we're old enough, we remember Blockbuster. And
I don't miss it.
I don't miss the late fees. But I will say this. The two things that I really enjoyed about going to Blockbuster, they had a good junk food candy section that was very convenient that I could just grab from. But depending on the Blockbuster, there were people there that could make some solid suggestions. Granted, there are a lot of stoners working there, which is totally cool. But I got good suggestions about, hey, what's a good flick for tonight? I mean, I almost got into the habit of knowing what I was going in for ahead of time and getting that thing, right? Walking straight to that thing, getting that video, that film. But then also asking the worker, hey, I got this thing. What else? What do you think? Sometimes I get trash suggestions. Sometimes I get some gold.
A lot of the times, people that I would ask, they didn't know anything. They were just making a paycheck. So I would look at the covers, I would read the backs, and if it was a new movie I'd see a preview for, I'd run to the back, make sure I could get a copy before somebody beat me to it.
Yeah, for some reason I can't think about Blockbuster and think about previews. Obviously, you go to the movies today and they show previews in front of the film. It's not something you really worry about when you stream video nowadays, like Netflix and stuff like that. But you go and rent a VHS back in the day, obviously prior DVD, they're there. Like the trailers are there, which by the way was hilarious because the very podcast we're doing right now talking about films and games and whatever that made us nostalgic back in the day, depending on the format you watch that on, if the trailers are embedded, like that's a good time before the movie even starts because you get to see some of the trailers from back in the day and they weren't all great. Let's talk about the opening of this movie. Two brothers, they're working in a meat factory, and I think Norman Reedus picks up a big slab of beef and slaps the shit out of his brother.
Yeah.
And that was funny, right? And then there's that trainee they have, and there's a rule of thumb on doing this, and they're just trying to explain how to do the job. And she just goes ballistic. Rule of thumb. You used to be able to hit your woman as long as a stick was smaller than the rule of thumb. And I think it's John Patrick Flannery's character who's like, whoa, your thumb's kind of weak. Maybe it should have been the rule of wrist. That'd have been do a little more damage. And he was just joking. And he even told her because she was clearly offended. But then she kicks him in the nuts. And then Norman Reedus comes out of nowhere and just gives her a right hook. And presumably that's the end of their employment there. But that's how the movie opened. That's a pretty solid indicator of what you're going to get out of this film, I think.
They got each other's backs no matter what.
One could argue that was critical to establishing who the characters were. There's the rules that the average person lives by, and then there's the rules that they live by, which is to say there are no rules except for take care of each other. And that was a common thread throughout. You know what I mean? It was almost like they bickered like brothers. They were very single-minded, I feel like, throughout the movie. And I thought that was really, really neat. Maybe it's just a testament to Norman Norman Reedus and Sean Patrick Flannery's chemistry. But, we move on and we get to the bar. And I know we were talking about this prior to recording, but there's so many little characters that support this movie and keep it floating. The bartender, who would kind of like mix up the idioms, was hilarious. And I think that Tourette's too, if I'm not mistaken. He was hilarious. People in glass houses sink ships, make like a tree, get the fuck out. I love that. Some writer took the time to craft that. I'm like, excellent. You know what? There's a lot of stuff that comes out today that is of questionable writing quality. And a lesser writer just would have had a guy with Tourette's out there throwing out F-bombs. You know what I mean? They did something with the guy here, and I appreciated it.
Yeah. Speaking of F-bombs, there were 245 of them in this movie.
What was the runtime?
Runtime was 110 minutes.
There you go, folks. Calculate that F-bomb per minute. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's a little more than 2 a minute.
That's fantastic. And by the way, like, I want to point out, yes, there's a lot of cussing. Yes, it could be offensive to certain people. But I do feel like this movie stands out as the type of film that scratches a very specific itch. And when you watch it, it's for laughs. You're not taking anything serious in your life that day. And I think that's a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, everything doesn't have to be like super serious, emotional. This was just fun. Yeah, there's a lot of F-bombs. Why not? I do want to fast forward a little bit to the alleyway. And I'm not, listeners at home, you can't see me do the flourish doing right now. But when Willem Dafoe enters the alley and he asks the guy what's going on, and the detective gives him his serial crusher theory. And then huge freaking guy. And then Willem Dafoe puts on the headphones, classical music, and glorious, by the way. Like that, like a character is born. I don't know how they didn't end up doing a spin-off movie with Willem Dafoe's character. That guy can carry a movie, but that was glorious. Is there anything about so far in the movie that I'm not touched on that really jumped out at you?
No. I really did like Willem Dafoe's character. When I first saw it and he did that, I was like, what are we getting into here? What is this guy about? And pretty much he was just gold the rest of the movie.
He was. I'm not even going to add anything to that, Dave. Shit. He was gold.
And it's, there could have been so many different actors playing these roles because Troy Duffy had a bunch of other actors that wanted to be in this movie. He passed on them. And they include Keanu Reeves.
Really?
Ethan Hawke, Mark Wahlberg, Sylvester Stallone, Bill Murray, Mike Myers, Brad Pitt, Ewan McGregor. And Ewan McGregor was like the main one. But the reason why he got turned down is because him and Troy got into a disagreement about the death penalty. And so Duffy decided he wasn't going to have him in his movie.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. These other guys you just mentioned, Keanu Reeves, for example, as a principal, as one of the two leads?
I'm not sure what roles they were all going to be playing.
Okay.
Ewan McGregor was going to be one of the leads for sure. But, I mean, none of these actors are side cast. Like, they're all top, real tight guys.
And I will point out, call back to the opening part of this podcast, The Matrix dropped that year. So he had some juice in Hollywood. A lot of these guys you just mentioned had a lot of juice in Hollywood. So that's a damn impressive list when you think about it. I do want to point out before we go away from the alley, there's a line with Willem Dafoe when he's debunking the theory, the serial crusher theory, and they start getting into ballistics and stuff like that, and they find the shell, and he does like, then the ass kissing will start with you, and he points to the lead detective that was standing there.
That's when they're going up the elevator.
Yes, you're right. Sorry. That's a thread that continued on to the rest of the movie that I absolutely loved. Again, that's good writing, Dave. It's like when you watch a stand-up comedian, right? They'll tell a joke early on, and then throughout the routine, they'll reference back to it a handful of times. That's good writing. In any format, that's good writing. So sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead, Dave.
No, you're right. He keeps picking on Greenlee.
Greenlee.
His name. Yeah.
Yes.
He keeps picking on him throughout the movie, but he doesn't know what he's doing really.
Which, by the way, Greenlee, some of these detectives, they found like, I don't know how you cast a hard-nosed Boston detective and it not be generic, but like the guy had a little hint of nervousness at all times. And yet it wasn't like he was taking it personal. He's just like, damn, that's my ass again. Mm-hmm. It's just so funny. Like he had a bit role, but he played it to perfection. I'd already talked about Ron Jeremy, funny. You weren't a big fan of his. This will be the first of many, I am certain, movies that we'll cover where the level of candor, the jokes being told are from a very specific time. And that it is just what it is, right? We're not here to judge whether it's appropriate or if it was too offensive or over the line or anything like that. Just taking on the merits of what it was when it came out. And certainly how we react to it back then. Not the men we are today, but how we reacted to it back then. The Rocco joke. It was horribly racist, but entirely appropriate given that you were talking about these collection of criminals who are of themselves terrible people. So once you've accepted this is a room full of terrible people, assholes, idiots, criminals, murderers, okay? These are not good people. So once you accept that and understand that the incredibly racist joke that Rocco tells, that even though he stumbles through and Ron Jeremy's like staring him down.
And you gotta also think that he was refusing to say certain words and they kept putting it in there for him to say. It's like, yeah, that's what I said.
Yes. That was funny. Genuinely funny. Again, that's good writing. I'll have a Coke. Listeners out there, go watch Boondock Saints. I'm not going to run that joke, but go watch it. When the guys, our two leads, they have their conversation, they have their moment where it looks like they're being called upon by God. They like rise up out of the chair, be pulled to the heavens.
You mean when they were staying the night in the jail? So?
Yes, but then fast forward to that. This is what we're going to do. This is our mission. They figure out their calling. They go weapon shopping, okay, which is a magical thing in and of itself.
Charlie Bronson's always got the rope.
That's what I was going to talk about. The fucking rope.
You don't need your rope. Is that right, Rambo?
I gotta agree with Sean Patrick Flannery's character on this. Why not take the rope?
I mean, they needed it.
They ended up finding out that it was critical because they would have fell on their skulls if they didn't have it.
Well, and it caught them by accident when they fell. It was there.
It was.
And then they used the knife to cut the rope?
Okay, let me ask you though, Dave. You're in this room, and I'm just going off memory here. There's a couple Beretta 9mm with suppressors on them, very sexy. I've seen a couple MP5 submachine guns on the wall. There was a 50 cal. Like there are all kinds of stuff. Would you have picked up the rope? I'm just curious. Would you have actually picked up the rope?
Perhaps.
I think I would have.
Oh.
I wouldn't have picked up the damn Rambo knife. I'm going to be honest.
I would have definitely grabbed that.
I know you're a Rambo fan. I'm just saying.
Oh, a Rambo fan, but I mean, I carry a knife every day.
You and 50 million other Texans.
I use it almost every day.
You're not carrying a damn Rambo knife with you.
I don't know. I mean, if I got a big splinter, that's a big knife. You know?
Fair enough. I would have taken the rope. I was just having a conversation with the wife not that long ago about having good rope in the house. And she's like, why do we need good rope? And guess what? She got the zero turn stuck in the back. I have a little bit of land, folks, in the back after a rain. And to pull her out, guess what I did? I got some rope, put it around some thick metal parts, and I pulled her out. Rope. Okay, it's helpful. It's useful. Sean Patrick Flannery's character was right. Willem Dafoe, by the way, sometimes a character is memorable for a lot of reasons, not always good reasons. Willem Dafoe's character in this movie, though colorful, though good enough that I would have watched a movie dedicated to him, was also a horribly homophobic gay guy.
Yeah.
Like he's literally on the phone talking with someone called with an update to a case, and like his lover's there and he's like trying to cuddle with him. He keeps slapping him in the face. So I just wanted to cuddle. Drops the F-bomb. And I'll be honest with you, for some reason, of all the crazy things that had happened already to that point in the film, that was a thing that was like, whoa. I don't know that if I were writing that film, I would have went that direction. It's not because I thought it was offensive necessarily. It's that I couldn't understand why. And I still don't. I couldn't understand why they chose to go that route, because that his character, that detective, if nothing else, was a super confident person and like very sure about who he was. I just don't understand it. I'm not bashing the writer. I just genuinely didn't understand what they were going for there.
It might have been something that his character didn't like about himself. Like when he's getting a drink, he's just pour the drink, you fairy, and everybody stops and looks at him.
You know what? And maybe this is one of those things where if we had the director sitting in this room with us on a third mic and we turned to him, he'd be like, oh, it was a statement based on, folks coming out. Maybe folks weren't necessarily, may accept it or something. I don't know. Because again, it's a different time. It's the 90s. I mean, like the 90s were kind of toxic. Let's be honest.
Yeah. It wasn't very comfortable to come out if you were that way.
Fair enough. Yeah. And maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was just a, hey guys, just so you know, type moment.
He was, and maybe he wasn't comfortable with it, but he couldn't get away from it.
Yeah, it could have been a conflict.
It was him, so.
Could have been inner conflict. He did have a couple lines throughout that movie. When he goes into the hotel, this is after the guys fall through the ceiling and they're spinning around in a circle. I don't even know what you'd call that, like Mission Impossible meets Rambo, taking everyone out. And the lead detectives, they've gotten to the point where they're trying to sort of embrace him. And the one detective, not the one who's constantly getting picked on, but the other one's like, what's the symbology of it all? And Willem Dafoe's character turns to him, and I'll never forget like the shape of Willem Dafoe's mouth, because he really exaggerates it. Symbolism. I'm sure this is just picking up a hell of an S on the mic. It's just one of those things that, like, again, it's a good, smart piece of writing, but it's something to let the viewer know that Willem Dafoe is the smartest man in the room. Quite frankly, that's how I interpret that.
Yeah, definitely. That, and I mean, you can't forget his river dance.
Okay, for me in the future, that clap was not an edit out. That's hilarious, Dave. Thank you. Oh, the fucking
Kinda
river
makes
dance.
it feel like I mean, you're missing it though. Greenlee already had to go get coffee, and then he said there was 8 bodies and there's 9. He's like, I forgot about that one. So it's like onion bagel, cream cheese.
Greenlee just turns and just, okay, this is my life now. Dave, tell me your thoughts on the cat situation.
On the cat?
The cat situation.
Well, okay, so the body count in this movie is 33 plus 1 cat.
Fuck me.
And I'm an animal lover. I love animals. And I know they didn't really do it to a real cat. So, you know, when that scene happened, the very first time I saw it, the 50th time I saw it, I laughed. It's funny. Their reaction, like, I'm hit. Did that just happen? Is it dead?
Is it dead?
I mean, oh, that's funny.
Oh, that cat was exploded all over the wall. Is it dead? So, same thing. Obviously, I'm not trying to offend PETA, and I'm an animal lover. We both know no cats were harmed during the filming of this movie. But it was hilarious because I think it stood out as a moment, Dave, that these boys, they're lovable, they have good intentions. On some level, they're still kind of fuck-ups. Not as much as Rocco. My goodness. Rocco. But, you know, it does go to show you, I mean, these guys are sitting up all night drinking and eating pizza, and a cat dies. But, like, they're kind of still kind of screw-up-ish.
Well, and like Rocco's holding the knife, and one of them comes up behind him and does something, and he looks at him and says, mess you up, dude. That's that whole scene. I enjoyed that one. It's probably one of my favorite scenes in it.
Me too, actually. And it's actually for what came next. The girlfriend comes home, who, based on my perception of that scene, she was a junkie. I'm guessing her friend was a junkie as well.
And I think prostitute.
Oh, were they Okay, I didn't get that. I believe it, though. Now, thinking back on it, you're probably right. But there's a moment where he's like, I killed your cat. And she starts to get upset. And she's like, fuck you, Rocco. What was the cat's name? Tell me the cat's name, and I'll blow my brains out right now. And she couldn't do it. And I don't know if that was like meant to be like a Rocco has finally cracked type moment. But you want to talk about comic relief. There were good scenes in that movie, sir, that Rocco straight up stole.
Yeah, even the called him on the payphone right before he went into that deli and shot those guys. He was like, I'm cool. Catch you on the flip side.
Red flag.
And then him being crazy when he followed Agent Smecker into the Catholic Church for confession. He goes into the booth and grabs the priest, holds the gun to him. A little bit there.
A little bit, yeah. But you know what? I feel like that scene does another thing really, really well for us. And it shows this evolution of Willem Dafoe's character as someone who is, again, very smart, very intelligent, very good at his job. But he's starting to sort of side with the boys at this point. He's conflicted, right?
Yeah, he's torn. He doesn't know, to do his job or to join the team.
Yeah. And Rocco does something stupid. Sean Patrick Flannery comes up from behind from the other booth, pulls his head back with a gun, and he's like, hey, don't. And the whole thing ends with Willem Dafoe's character seeing this is like some fucked up divine intervention. He's like, yeah, Father, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And then somehow Rocco, even though he knew what was going on the whole time, the big screw up that he was, still somehow managed to, like, I don't know, twist it in his head that he is also in the right. Rocco's kind of an idiot.
Well, I don't know. He probably just got tired of being the package boy. And his buddies, they're taking out all these guys, and you skipped a scene. We skipped ahead.
Okay.
Another friendly part of the movie is when they go into the horn booth, when they kill Ron Jeremy's character.
No, actually, I had that in my notes.
Oh.
Specifically as Rocco's mask.
Oh.
I literally didn't write anything else about the scene except for
really
Rocco's mask.
Because I was thinking about the part where he touches the boob. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, I'll tip her.
I'll tip her. Thank you, by the way, because I wrote I'll tip her on the next row, but I didn't remember why.
Oh, that's why.
Rocco was such a degenerate. Rocco is such a degenerate. And by the way, you got to admit, this thing where the boys and now Rocco will come in and they'll do their little hit on these mafioso types, and then Willem Dafoe will come later and they'll break down the scene, which of course we know to be exposition. He's just explaining things. The way that Willem Dafoe worked out, it was one man standing in the middle and crossing his guns in front of him and shooting in both directions.
Like a cowboy.
But a cowboy, because it was sloppy. That is one thing that really distinguished Rocco from the brothers, is although they had in common that they were all on some level lovable losers, the boys were at least disciplined. I don't know why. They had the efficiency of a damn special forces team, but they were disciplined. They were efficient. They didn't make mistakes. Rocco was a walking mistake. So it was good timing. It was a good part of the movie for Willem Dafoe's character to point out a crack. You know what I mean? But that whole scene was wild. And by the way, I want to point something out for folks that don't know. I'm not a firearms expert. I am not. But I know for a fact, even if you put a suppressor on a handgun, it is not completely silent. That's Hollywood. So when I'm watching this scene, I'm thinking, okay, even with that suppressor on, that small of quarters, the first couple shots go off, everyone's going to know guns were shot. It is not going to be like a damn James Bond movie where it's like, doop, 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 doop. And you got Rocco's.
Hear the glass breaking too.
Oh, good Lord, yes. Yes. I'm curious your thoughts on one particular thing. The hitman that was hired, that was brought in to take them out.
Say
it again?
El Duce, whatever.
Like, what are your thoughts on him? I don't know if they're trying to imply that he was family, some kind, because it's a family prayer. They said that a couple times throughout the movie, and he knew the prayer. What are your thoughts on that particular twist?
Well, I mean, the sons ended up being a lot like their father because he did the same thing.
Yeah.
He did the same thing, but he did it for the people that he was killing also.
Yeah, and for the record, I'm not saying that I don't like the twist, but here in a bit when we kind of give our personal rating on it, right? That is something I considered because I liked it mechanically. I don't like how it was executed because it was such a small window, Dave, between the point where you see this dude standing out in front of that house of that hitman guy they were going to kill. He has like 6 guns.
What about 1 shooter, 6 guns?
1 shooter, 6 guns. Like, there's such a small window between that and then the next scene where he comes up behind him and he's getting ready to kill him, but you realize, hey, they're reciting the family prayer. Like, we know each other. Like, it was just, if there was more time, I guess is what I'm saying, then I would have been more into it. Or you know what, maybe.
Well, didn't they say he was locked up for 25 years?
They did. But you know what, Dave?
So his kids would be pretty little.
Yeah,
I would think.
Yeah, it's feasible they wouldn't remember him. But what I'm proposing to you, sir, is would that not have made more sense in a second movie where you can explore that deeper?
Yeah, and I don't remember the second one all that well. So I don't know if they did or not.
I don't remember it very well either. Because I remember it wasn't as good. I'll put it that way. / completely unnecessary.
But yeah, El Duce, who was played by Billy Connolly. And did you know why he's smoking a cigar, Gene?
Please tell me.
Well, I mean, not only did it make him look cool, apparently when they were filming, shooting all the guns like he was doing, he couldn't stop smiling. So they decided to put a cigar in his mouth to hide the smile.
Because they wanted to be more serious or what?
No, he just had a blast doing it. It was fun for him.
I get that he was having a blast. Do you think it was the director's like, hey, I need you to be a little more brooding, and I can't do that if you look like a kid in Chuck E. Cheese?
That's exactly what it was.
That's awesome. That is freaking fantastic.
That's exactly what it was.
Okay, so the final scene was interesting to me on a few different levels, right? They go to the courthouse. Willem Dafoe is up on game at this point.
You're skipping the part where they go find the other hitman that does kill women and children. Part where Agent Smecker, he's really getting into it, and he gets down on his knees and he's doing the shoulder thing back and forth with his pistols. And then at the end of all of that, his hair's all messed up, his tie's undone, his shirt's halfway undone, his jacket's off. He's like, what's going on here? And they discover that they sprayed
ammonia
on the blood.
Yeah.
And then he's just flipping out, and then he finds the finger, picks it up, and then as he's walking away, the little wrist on his hip.
Yeah.
Walk away that he does.
Okay, there's a little piece of gold there I want to point out. When he's recreating the scene and telling you what went down, he pulls out his firearm and discharges it into the air. There was a firefight. Can you imagine what he would have looked? He would have looked insane, Dave.
And he emptied it.
I did not catch that. That is amazing. All right, so before we get to the final scene, is there any other thing that I missed?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I think everybody knows the Saints' prayer that you were talking about. They say it's a family prayer, but I think that's just a Catholic prayer.
Can you give it to me?
Pretty long one.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
I will drink.
Should I do it in the accent?
Good God, no. It's like you're sounding Lucky Charms or some shit.
It might sound better that way. And shepherds we shall be for thee, my Lord, for thee. Power hath descended forth from thy hand, that our feet might swiftly carry out thy command. So we shall flow a river forth to thee, and teeming with souls shall it ever be. In nomine Patris, whatever, et Filii, et Spiritus Sancti, which is Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit in English.
Okay, so there's been many movies There's been many movies where someone used either a religious reference, a psalm, a prayer, whatever, and it's been referenced over and over again. Pulp Fiction, okay? A lot of people reference Samuel L. Jackson's sort of biblical thing he said, which, by the way, is totally made up. Great. It is. For the film, it's great. This is better in my opinion. This is single-handedly coolest prayer, whatever, of any kind in any film ever.
Yeah, that you can say before you blow somebody's head off.
Well, I don't plan on blowing anyone's head off, but back to fantasy football, I did use the logo from this movie that has the Latin pieces kind of encircling it. Love that prayer so much. Now, there's that final scene in the courthouse, right, where it's the big mafioso guy, and this is the part I think that doesn't age. The assumption is, he's a slick talker, he's got a lot of money, great lawyers, they're never going to nail him down, right? Getting him to court is probably only a victory that the legal department's going to get on this day. He's probably going to walk, right? And it opens up with him doing testimony and blah, blah, blah. He's smiling, he's working the crowd, yada, yada, and out walk the brothers and Dulce. And they don't just off the guy right there in court. They do this whole like proclamation. It's not just being vigilantes, but being like out in front with it. Jump street. Like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're starting with this guy and we're coming for all the would-be evildoers. And then it happens, right? All three of them blow this guy's brains out right there in court. They'll insists that who was he talking to? They tried to put their face down and he like raised their chin up.
It was just some girl in the crowd.
Yeah, like it's like they wanted witnesses. And then the director, you got to admit, it's interesting. The director made the decision to do like faux interviews, like on the street, where they're asking people on the street, like, what do you think about what they did? And it was like right down the middle. Some people were like, yeah, the criminal justice system always fails us. Go Saints. We need them in every major city, one guy says. And then you had the other folks that are like, who are these people to be judge, jury, and executioner all at once, And which, by the way, is how it would be today. If there were some vigilante superhero type person, it would be split right down the middle. You're for him, you're against him. So I think that was like really interesting and really smart for the director. What was your take on those last 4 or 5 minutes of the film?
Well, that's going to be one of my questions. I mean, you think it's right what they do or wrong what they do? Are you for it or against it?
Okay, you're not going to like this response. It's a moot point. So I have a very strong opinion. By the way, Geek Nostalgia Podcast. Let me geek out for you for a sec. I got Batman stuff all over my office. And I love Batman. That's singularly my favorite character. And I got a lot of love for Gambit as well. But here's the thing about Batman, Dave. If he were real, people would hate him.
You mean he's not real?
He's not real. If he were real, people would hate him. You know why? Because after the first time that he locked up Joker and Joker escaped and went and killed another 100 people, and then Batman just kept on locking him up and he kept on escaping and going killing folks, eventually public sentiment would be that Batman is an asshole and that it's his fault that the Joker keeps on offing people. And he should just I'm doing air quotes right now, Dave, the right thing and kill the Joker. Now, do I think that Batman should kill the Joker? Absolutely. But it doesn't take away from the fact that if these entities existed in real life, they would not survive long enough to go after all these bad guys. They'd be hunted down by either the bad guys themselves, the government, police, whatever. It wouldn't matter. They would never be successful. That sounds cynical, but they would never be successful.
Yeah, I don't think it could actually really happen and continue to happen. But they're getting rid of bad people that do bad things, and they're not harming innocent people. I mean, they didn't do really any damage to property or anything like that.
Well, there was a toilet at the beginning of the film that would disagree with you.
That was their toilet, and it was in a building that nobody paid rent for, didn't have a landlord or nothing. So,
all right. I think that is as good a place as any to wrap up this episode. All right, Dave, give us your rating and your logic behind it. Having said everything we've said, had all the great conversation we just had, let me get in your brain for a second.
It's got some good things I like in it. It's not a movie I could watch every day, but at least, once a year, I wouldn't mind watching it. Out of 1 through 5 stars, I'd give it a 3 right there in the middle.
Okay.
It's not a masterpiece, but it's also not the worst thing you could ever see. Like, it is a very entertaining movie, and I can't imagine somebody watching it and not enjoying it, unless it's the younger generation and they just get really offended by everything because it is an older movie. But yeah, that's my rating.
Very nice. So I landed on a 4 out of 5. Like you, it is not something that I would watch often, but I think every I don't know, Dave. Maybe every 4 or 5 years, break it out, and it's a damn good time. It wasn't a perfect film. My favorite parts, as I've alluded to at least a dozen times throughout this recording, was the writing. I love the writing. And then in addition to, I love the cast. Everyone from our principal actors to William Dafoe. Norman was amazing. Sean Patrick Flannery is amazing. There were so many things to like about this movie that had nothing at all to do with production quality, which is a good thing because production quality wasn't blockbuster, right? It wasn't a huge budget, but still very entertaining. I'd recommend anyone who hasn't seen it, you damn sure should watch it. And anyone who hasn't watched it in a while and you run into, a couple hours you need to fill, it's a good time. If nothing else, a good time. Flick. Absolutely. Dave, why don't you take us home?
Well, I do have one thing left to say.
What's that?
Well, Mean Gene, I just got to know. What you gonna do when the Boondock Saints runs wild on you, brother?
Yeah, brother. Thanks, everyone.